Hello, beautiful people. Happy Sunday. I wanted to pop on for a moment and talk for a second about frequency. And, hold on. Okay, sorry about that. The little notification came up on my phone. So, I wanted to pop on for a moment and talk a little bit about frequency and the human experience. I'm a huge believer that as we move through the human experience, we get to experience life, ourselves, the human experience at various different frequencies. And we will move between frequencies, kind of up and down, up and down, up and down. But oftentimes we're in a range, right? So if we were to go from 0 to 10, we might range between 2 and 4. And there's a little up and down, 2 and 4, 2 and 4, whoop, 5, whoop, 1, 2 and 4, 2 and 4, whoop, 5, 1, right? But the majority of the time, we're between 2 and 4. Or we could be experiencing life between 6 and 7, 6 and 7. Occasionally, we'll touch 10, and then sometimes we'll touch 3. But most of the time, we're hanging out somewhere there, 6 to 7, 6 to 7, 6 to 7. And when we experience life in particular frequencies, and again, they go up and down, right? So it's a little bit like music, a little symphony playing. As we move up and down, in and out of different frequencies, and those frequencies that we're moving in and out of oftentimes are in a range. But as we move up and down in frequency, that is going to impact the way that we experience ourselves and the human experience, right? And if you are in my world, you know that I have talked for years about stories around facts. And this is a little bit different, but similar. So I'm going to talk about stories around facts, and then we're going to connect it back to frequency. So humans are interesting little creatures. Hey, lovey. So good to see you on here, Jamie. So humans are interesting little creatures in the fact that we will take a small number of facts, right? We'll take 2 facts and we'll create a story around it. And the story that we create, hey, Wanda, will create the meaning out of the human experience. So let's think of an example. My son this is actually not true, but I'm just going to give it as an example. It is something that used to be true. My son is struggling at school. So I have a son and he's struggling at school. Those are the facts. Those are all the facts. I could create a story around that says, my son is struggling at school. And the meaning that I could make, the narrative that I could put around those facts could be, my son is struggling at school because there is something wrong with him. He doesn't learn the way that other children learn, and there's something wrong with him. I could even put more meaning around that to say, I did a bad job as a mom parenting him, and I should have done something differently so that he could be a different human and learn differently. That's going to elicit specific emotions. It's going to make me feel a way about myself, about my son, about his education, his plan, the way that he learns, who he is, his authenticity, his uniqueness. Okay? So there's one story. I could create that story. And I'm in charge of creating the story. It's what's happening up here in my mind. Okay? I could create another story. So let's do that together. I have a son, and he is struggling in public school. I have a son who's struggling in public school. There's a uniqueness to the way that his brain works. And this environment is simply not the environment that he is thriving in right now. Does that feel different to you than my first story? Can you feel the difference there? So that second story is going to make me feel a way about my son, about myself. Notice in that story, I was not blaming, I was not shaming. I was not blaming the school, I was not blaming myself, I was not blaming my child. I was just saying these things, these puzzle pieces might not fit together. Okay, we're going to tell a different story. I have a son. He's not thriving in public school right now. I have a son who is so amazing. The way that his brain works is different than anyone who I have ever met before. He has a wild brain. He learns in this very unique way. He interprets in a very unique way. He contemplates in a very unique way. He takes a deep dive into things, doesn't care about these other things. Later on, he might circle back and then care about those things. And he is going to do amazing things in the world. But the public school system isn't the environment where he's thriving right now. And so we're finding the right environment for him to thrive in. Can you feel the difference between those three stories? Right, in the third story, I'm telling you how amazing my son is. How he has this really unique brain. And he's going to do amazing things in the world. Because that uniqueness of how his brain works is what the world needs. And so, of course, a public school system might not be the right platform for him right now because there's a real uniqueness to him. And the public school system might not be teaching to the uniqueness of who he is and the way that he learns. Those three stories that I could create, and there are countless stories, right? So like we could keep going on this game. We could play this game for a very, very long time. There are countless stories that I could create in my mind about these small number of facts. And they're each going to elicit different emotions. And I'm going to feel a way about myself as a parent, about my child, about the dynamic, the situation, the environment. So humans will take a small number of facts, we'll create a story around them, and that will create the meaning out of the human experience. This is something that I have taught for years inside of different programs. I want to take that a step deeper with you guys. There is a frequency that I can be in that will elicit specific kinds of narratives and stories. So let's say if we're in, the scale from 0 to 10 of frequency, and I'm bopping around between 2 and 3, I might tell story number 1. So the narratives that are coming out of me might be on this frequency. If I were to change frequency and I were to come up to 5 to 6, I might tell the narrative in story number 2. And then if I go 6 to 7, 6 to 7, 6 to 7, bopping around up there, I might tell the narrative in narrative number 3. So much of the stories that we tell ourselves are driven through the frequency that we are embodying. Okay? This is a concept that when you understand it, and when you understand how to control the frequency that you are in, and I'm not saying control like, I'm going to steer this ship, but when you have conscious awareness of what frequency you are in, what it feels like, how to get to various different frequencies, how to experience different frequencies, what do you need to do for yourself to stay in specific frequencies? If you're liking your human experience more on a level 5 or 6 than you do on a 2 or 3, well, what do you need to do to keep yourself on a 5 to 6, right? There are narratives that will come out of you, out of this beautiful little mind of yours, at different frequencies. And the stories that come out of you are going to create the meaning out of the human experience. And the meaning out of the human experience that you create is going to elicit specific emotions. And that is how you're going to experience yourself and life, the human experience. And so learning about frequency, how to have awareness of frequency, to be able to understand how frequency and emotions engage with each other, to understand how frequency and narratives engage with each other, to understand how frequency and intuition engage with each other, to understand how frequency and us engaging with God, the universe, source, divine, nature, engage with each other, is transformative. It's transformative. When you understand concepts around frequency, it will change the way that you experience yourself and the way that you experience the human experience in a way that is hard to put words to. So I wanted to pop on and talk about that for a moment. In the free fall equinox workshop that we're running next weekend, I'm going to talk a little bit about frequency and balance, because fall equinox is when we see half day, half light. It's a half day, half night. I just said half day, half light, which is also true. But it is when we see equal time of night and day in a particular day, right? So fall and spring equinox, we see that. It's a really, really delicious time to look at balance, where we're in balance, where we're out of balance. And I'm going to be talking about frequency and balance inside of that fall equinox workshop, completely free. I'm going to drop the link if you want to come to it. If you can come to it live via Zoom, you can also register for it and catch the replay. But when you really start to understand frequency work, your life's going to change. I can tell you that I have been through an enormous transformation, and it has everything to do with frequency. I hope you guys are having a beautiful Sunday. I hope to see you at the fall equinox workshop, completely free. You can register for it right on my website. I will drop the link. If you can't come live, we will be sending out the replay to anyone who registers for the workshop. I hope you have a good Sunday afternoon.